Good evening and welcome to another episode of Money Talk with Melanie. I am your business diva, Melanie Collette, coming to you live via SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio from beautiful Cape May County, New Jersey. And it is indeed a beautiful day. It's 80 degrees and sunny out. And hello, Mike Fitzpatrick in the Facebook chat already. And Lorraine, hello. Rob Robinson, hi. I'm so happy to be back. I know I have been gone for a few days. I'm sorry I've been MIA. I've just been so entirely busy. I apologize. My guest today is Alison Lea Sher. And again, forgot to ask my guest. We got to chatting and forgot to ask my guest how to pronounce her name. But I will check on that when I introduce her. We're going to talk today about helping corporations improve millennial attraction and retention rates through world-class motivation data. She's an author and a millennial. And we're also going to talk about a number of other millennial topics. I suspect that many in my audience, like myself, are very curious about the mysterious millennial generation. And so I'm very excited to have her on the show today. And I see the one and only Josh, JW is in the Facey chat. And I want to thank you for connecting us. And hello, everybody who's piling into the Facey chat. Love you guys. For those of you in SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio land, you know that I also stream live on Facebook, and feel free to join us there in the Facey chat. Love to have you guys there. Love your questions and your comments. I missed you guys. Honestly, I really did, but I've been super busy. For everyone else, midterm election time is not till November. For those of us who are super duper politically active, the time is now, and I've been setting up my I've been working on my county call center. And it's just, it is pretty labor intensive, a lot of technology, phones and computers and just a lot of very techy, busy, stuff. And I'm in the middle of some pretty exciting, career change stuff too. So, but I'll talk to you guys more about that, as soon as I'm able. So some top secret stuff. And I don't know if any of you guys saw this, and hopefully there's some video. One of the things that I do, one of the many hats that I have the privilege of wearing is, hey Doug, is Mike Fitzpatrick in the chat is already starting with why do millennials practice so much age discrimination? That's just funny. One of the many hats that I wear is a vice president of the New Jersey Federation of Republican Women, and our convention was last week. And I had the privilege of moderating a 1-hour panel at our convention, and of course helping my president, the one and only Angelique Scholl, prepare for that last week, in addition to setting up my county call center, which is not even close to done. Our primary here in New Jersey is in June. So I've been a busy girl and trying to make a career change, because I got to get out the classroom so I can write a book. That's so just, now Liz Camp, welcome. Sean Brown, Tim, and thank you, Tim, for the compliment. You were so sweet. Thank you. I am doing my very best. And the guests are just coming. I have a backlog of guests, which is crazy. I am so grateful. You all who have me on your prayer list are doing a stellar job, because I can't keep track of the requests. I have so many people that I need to call back and reschedule. It's cray-cray. It's seriously ridiculous. In fact, I am going to schedule a re-air tomorrow, because I got invited to this. Apparently somebody considers me to be a real journalist or something, because I got invited to this major swanky journalist award dinner tomorrow night in DC. That's what I'll be doing tomorrow. Go figure. I know. I'm kind of like, what? But they're like, yeah, you. So I'm going. so that's tomorrow night. I'm supposed to be somewhere tonight too, but it's not happening. Now, there's I have 3 minutes to talk about some stuff that I want to talk about in the news. No, Katina, actually, you have not missed shows. Katina Pearson in the chat, you haven't missed shows I have missed shows because I have been super duper ridiculous busy. Now, here's what I want to talk about. There's so much crazy in the news. All right, business first. Congress has agreed to ease the Dodd-Frank financial regulation. Now, my guest is on hold. If you hear sirens in the background, that's because she's in NYC. And if you've ever been in New York City, you know that sirens is just a way of life. So that's there's nothing going on here in Cape May County. Well, even though I live right next to a hospital, you'll hear helicopters sometimes near where I live. But that's why you hear that. But what was I saying? Oh, Congress has agreed to ease the Dodd-Frank rule regulations. And if you recall, Dodd-Frank was passed when there was a major banking crisis and meltdown a few years ago, where they really upped the regulations, and Congress just voted to ease that. President Trump is expected to sign that before Memorial Day, which is this weekend. So I'm inclined to say that that's good news, and thank you for the congratulations, Katina Pearson. We've been having way too much fun on social media, Katina, myself, and a few of the other fine ladies on my Facebook page. I just have to mention that I enjoy you all so much. We're just a mess. We have to meet in person at some point. Just saying. What else is going on? Now, this is what got my eyes up just like a little bit. Now, you all know that I love Amazon. Those of you who are regular listeners to the show know that I'm a big fan of Amazon, and President Trump, as much as I love you, please leave my Amazon alone. I just want to say that one more time. But apparently they're under fire now because they've been providing facial recognition technology to police in Oregon and Florida on a trial basis. And they're supposed to be rolling it out, I guess, probably all over the country, and my guess is all over the world at some point. Civil rights groups, of course, as they are wont to do, are crying foul, saying it's going to violate civil rights. Here's the part that ticks me off. Here's the part that here's the part that's bothering me. Mike Fitzpatrick said I need a 12-step program for Amazon. And when I say what I'm about to say, but for those of you who don't know who Mike Fitzpatrick is, he is the official cybersecurity expert of Money Talk with Melanie, and he will be back on in a couple of weeks. But when I say what I'm about to say, Mike Fitzpatrick's probably going to be happy about this. But people are upset about this facial recognition software. Here's the part that I have a problem with. They're saying that like it's going to disproportionately violate the civil rights of people of color. Why? Why are they always saying like we're going to have it worse? Again, melanin is not a disability. It's not an impairment. It's not a problem. Please stop saying that. I'm gonna have to ask officially now. Can you please stop treating my melanin like a disability? Stop. I don't know why they're saying that. You're like, you know what? And I would have been like, I could have dealt with like Fitzpatrick. I could have dealt with civil rights groups saying it's violating people's privacy, and I'm sure that Mike Fitzpatrick would totally agree with that because he's a cybersecurity expert, so of course he would agree with that. But disproportionately to people of color, why? Stop saying that. Just cut it out already. I'm going to breathe now and go to a break. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I am your business diva, Melanie Collette. I'm so pleased to have my guest today, Alison Lea Sher. She is going to talk to us about millennials, how to improve, how we and the other generations can improve our interactions with millennials, business-wise and otherwise. And I'm looking so forward to this conversation. We'll be back in a few minutes. Coming up next, a brand new Ron Edwards notebook. I'm so excited. Be back in a couple minutes.
The U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem, Israel is not open for business. But unfortunately, bigoted leftists scientists and other enemies have other ideas. Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, the enemies of Israel have launched a multifaceted evil attack against Israel's right to have operating embassies in its 3,500-year-old capital. The globalist-inspired International Criminal Court is preparing a phony war crimes investigation against Israel based on false accusations of the terrorist-influenced Palestinian Authority. They are the same beasts who gladly reward jihadists for murdering Americans and Israelis. The United Nations likes to find ways to condemn Israel and stick it to the United States, who still foolishly makes payments to that den of doom. Also, instead of condemning Islamic terrorists, UN officials have forked over $65 million taxpayer dollars for a slush fund to be used against Israel at the International Criminal Court. To condemn a nation for operating in its capital that predates every Muslim/Islamic nation on earth could turn out to be problematic for these continuing to poke the apple of God's eye. I'm Ron Edwards.
Blowing away the myths and revealing the truth. You can continue to blow away the myths with Ron Edwards on Facebook, Twitter, and theronedwards.com. Sponsored by the Tri-County Liberty Coalition.
Ron Edwards, the new voice of America. Who likes paying taxes? Nobody. That's why Eva Rosenberg from TaxMama.com wants you to pay less of them. Read Small Business Taxes Made Easy and learn how legally hiring your spouse and children can slash your taxes. Learn how to set up a business plan that minimizes taxes, the benefits of setting up an exit plan, how to avoid getting audited, and how to legally increase your deductible expenses with better record-keeping techniques. Don't let the IRS squeeze you out of every penny. Visit TaxMama.com. Click on Ask a Tax Question to get free answers to your tax and business questions. That's TaxMama.com.
My name is David Barnett, and I've been helping people buy and sell small and medium-sized businesses since 2008. So far this year, I've gone on 5 vacations. It's because I've got my own business. When you get tired of being managed by someone else and you decide that business ownership is right for you without the risk of starting your own unproven enterprise, then come over to businessbuyeradvantage.com. There are over 100 YouTube videos on buying and selling businesses that you can watch for free. That's businessbuyeradvantage.com.
Welcome back. This is Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. And my guest today is Alison Lea Sher. She is author of the book, make sure I get this right, The Millennials Guide to Changing the World. She's going to talk to us today about helping corporations improve millennial attraction and retention rates through world-class motivation, data, and many other millennial topics, because I think that many in my audience find millennials in general very mysterious. And so I know I do. And it can't just be me. And we were talking about this before we went on air, and she asked me if we could talk about some things. And I was like, oh, absolutely. I planned on asking you quite a few questions so about that. So without further ado, my guest today, Alison Lea Sher. And am I pronouncing your last name correctly? Alison, you there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I am? Good. Before I go any further, can you please give the audience a bit of your background?
Yeah, so I've been writing for about 10 years. This is my 3rd book. The other 2 were commissioned biographies. And so I guess I consider myself a journalist and a biographer. And I recently, I've spent 5 years studying the millennials, not recently. Been working on this for a while, and to write my book, I interviewed hundreds of millennials from all different cross-sections of society and all different demographics to kind of get a feel on who this diverse generation was and how we were making lives for ourselves in America, and what was the culture of our generation and also the zeitgeist of the times in America. And yeah, and then I recently became the founder of a company called Millennial Inc., and I'm using all of this expertise that I've gained, as well as other true management and understanding what millennials need in companies to stick around, to help organizations learn how to become what I would like to say like millennial friendly, which ends up benefiting everybody.
I don't know. That's up for debate. I'm kidding. I'm totally messing with you. No, so
another one of my expertise is like, you know, letting it like sitting there while everyone hates on millennials and just learning how to do they call it like generational reconciliation work.
I love that. Now, before we go any further, because I think there's a lot of confusion as far as this is concerned. Who exactly are the millennials? Who are they? Because I think we throw that term around and not everybody knows exactly who they are. I think like us older folks just use that as a term to describe younger people that annoy us. and it actually describes a specific group of people. So who are the millennials?
So according to, you know, researchers and millennials, anyone born between, it just recently changed from 1980 to 1982 to 2000. So there's, you know, about like 2 decades worth of an age group in there. And there's actually, I would say you could probably split the culture of the millennial cohort into two different groups as well. And to me, I divide those into people who graduated before the Great Recession and the people who graduated afterwards, because we have very different philosophies on life and work.
Oh, I like that. Explain.
So people who graduated before the Great Recession, when they were, you know, going into an economy where there was a lot of opportunities, they actually, I think, took on more traditional values around just kind of being more concerned with their own personal development and their own kind of pleasure seeking. They call it hedonia. Whenever I say they, it means this, the researchers out there that I have, that I've read and studied up on. And then the people who graduated after tended to have more of this desire to contribute civically in a way that was trying to like help the world, pursuing purpose, as ambiguous as that was, but it was more like focusing on the well-being of the collective versus the self.
I'm interested in what that means. Before we go back, before I say that, which one do you fall into, or do you feel like you're a combination of both? Which group do you fall into?
I've gotten more over the years. I've gotten more kind of like, okay, like now that I realize how hard it is to just get your own stuff together, you know, maybe like don't obsess over the lot in life of others. But I would definitely fall into, I graduated right at the Great Recession, which is one of the things that really inspired me to write this project was that, you know, like I was like, no one has a job. Like we don't even know what we're doing with our lives. And it was like that for years. And just watching my peers and myself send out hundreds of job applications, competing for positions with people our parents' age, you know, it kind of shakes your belief in the system. And it's actually something that has made my generation really think more in the short term. I think that's one of the frustrations that people have. They're like, why aren't these millennials like planning for their retirement? Why aren't they act like teenagers forever? Who wants to live like that forever? And they're not going to have any security. But because of that, because we watched, you know, some of us watched our parents lose everything during the real estate crash. You know, we kind of are like, we're kind of living for the moment more so than other generations. And those are the people who graduated after the Great Recession.
And statistically, I find that to be true. I saw an article a little earlier today when I was doing research on you millennial folks. And that's what the information bared out. It said that, you know, more of you have debt, that 57% of millennial employees are stressed out about their finances, with 48% saying that financial matters were the top cause of their stress. 4 out of 10 millennials say that issues with personal finances have been a distraction at work. Now, I will say, yeah, and Patrick Hampton in the Facebook chat says that's true. He has 3 jobs, and I don't know how he has 3 jobs and 4 kids and a wife. I don't know how he's like Superman. I don't know how he's doing that. He's a millennial. He's on, and he must be in that second category that you described. But yeah, that's but I feel like they are closer. They're closer to like us older folks. Is how I'm feeling. What do you think?
Closer as far as what?
As far as the feeling the financial stress, if you will, because I feel like that's how.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like I think that's how most of us feel. Now, here's my question. I think that, and this is solely my opinion, part of, I think, where the age gap and the whole, like, people cast it, I've been jokingly, making fun of millennials, but because that's what people do. It's like in style now. But I think part of the reason why we do that is because there's this sense among older people that, like, millennials don't have a right to complain yet. Like, you're not old enough to complain about that yet. Like, you should be fine with where you are. You don't get to complain about a mortgage on a $200,000 house because you shouldn't have a $200,000 house yet because you're not young to have one. Like, I think that's like the attitude. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a kind of mixed scenario because you could say that millennials were raised with parents who, we came from homes where there was typically 2 incomes coming in. A lot of us were just lavished with material goods growing up that we didn't really have like the context to understand what it takes to, be able to afford all of that stuff. But then if you also look statistically about like where our parents were at when they were our age, a lot of them were already homeowners. A lot of like the price of college has gone up so much. If you take into consideration inflation and the cost of living in cities where there's actually job opportunities, it actually shows that there's an incredible amount of economic structural disadvantages that millennials are inheriting. And I believe that we have every right to complain. And just because older people might not be able to see it from our perspective, because they actually were in a completely different America. And I don't think they realize like how the numbers are actually stacked against us.
You know what? I'm going to go ahead and agree with you on that. I'm going to go ahead and agree with you on that, and I'll tell you why.
Thank you, Melanie.
No, I'm going to co-sign with you on that. When I was in undergrad, I worked 2 jobs to pay my way through school, first 2 years of undergrad. Okay. And I could pay it, like working, 3 menial jobs. I think I worked at like McDonald's, Kenny Shoes. I was a manager at a mall, and like some side hustle, doing sales, like vacation sales on the boardwalk. I live near the beach. And that's how I made ends meet to pay for college the first 2 years. You can't do that now. There's no way. And I think it was like, I don't know, $2,000 a semester. Can't do that now. So I'll agree with you on that. And as you know, when I went back to get my master's years later, you can't do that. So I'll agree with you on that one. The cost is far more than it was, 20. Oh gosh, probably now 30, closer to 30 years ago when I went to undergrad. I'll agree with that for sure. So that's fair. Now, is that why? And that probably is why, I guess, another complaint a lot of people say is, when millennials get out of college, they expect to have the corner office and the six-figure salary. Well, their bills are more.
Right, and it's not even necessarily, I think that goes into one of the negative stereotypes we have of being entitled, but I don't necessarily think that millennials care as much about that as much as we want this idea of purpose in our lives. We want to be fulfilled at work now. And I think, there's a lot of this goes into the intergenerational reconciliation work, where it's just like communication, the way we're going about asking for raises, the way we're going about like trying to get like a healthy sense of entitlement as far as like getting your hands on what you need to make a life in America and working your way up and being financially compensated for the work that you do. Like we don't always communicate in a way that's effective. And so part of the work that I do at Millennial Inc. is like teaching millennials what the negative stereotypes that are placed on them, and how with just like very, very small behavioral modifications that take into account how other generations interpret the world and interpret us, we can actually, be like, our entitlement is really just ambition. And if you phrase it like this and you prove that you're actually adding massive value to your company, then you might get a raise. But if you just go up there and expect it on the first week of school or the first week of work, you're probably gonna get some bad looks.
Okay, so now what I hear you saying is that you're kind of, and actually I think you said it earlier, I think you called it like generation reconciliation.
Yes.
So kind of like a meeting us older folks where we are. That's what you're meeting your managers where they are, and kind of explaining that, look, we have some expectations, and there's certain language that you need to use with us so that you don't turn us off.
Right, exactly. And it's like, how can we all work together for these missions? And I mean, one of the biggest things is that, like, I think millennials, because we are having so many of these negative stereotypes placed on us because we're not happy at our jobs, our human capital, like our human potential, is really being underutilized. And I think companies that can't figure out how to make us stay and how to like really tap into that, they're gonna not be able to survive in the marketplace, because these corporations, they need to be innovating, they need to be making products that are going to appeal to our demographic. Millennials are not really actively engaged consumers. We don't have like brand loyalty the way previous generations did. We don't think of consumption as being an indicator for quality of life the way economists do, the way previous generations did. And I think like if older people can give us a seat at the table so that we can really bring our creativity, bring our inspiration, bring our unique generational values into these companies to help them actually make money, because corporate profits have been steadily declining for decades, and it's only through innovation and through switching management tactics that are not about just scaling as big as possible and cutting down costs as much as possible, which is the way capitalism currently operates, and it's not creating happy customers, it's polluting the planet. People are getting sick inside the workplace because they can't take care of their well-being. The family system is crumbling, and all of this is happening because of just these outdated philosophies that we've had since the industrialized revolution, that millennials just don't vibe with them. And I think like other people interpret this as being disrespectful, as being stupid, rebellious, narcissistic kids who don't understand the way the world works. But like from our perspective, we're like, the world doesn't work. So let's try to fix it together. So that's really what I'm passionate about. And I think if millennials can't really do it on our own. Like a lot of us choose to leave our jobs because we were like, okay, well, I would rather be able to work from my computer wherever I want and go to yoga when I need to and cry when I need to or do whatever I need to do to take care of myself, even if it means like I'm not going to have a 401k, I'm not going to get a pension. I would rather do that and like start a business that's going to solve a problem in society that I'm passionate about. And even though, you know, a huge percentage of startups fail, I would rather take that risk than sit in that cubicle every day, not being allowed to, you know, have any input onto what's going on in the company, and just, you know, spending the next 3 decades of my life working up this ladder. Even if I did it perfectly, I just don't think that that's like, to millennials, that's just not our idea of a life well lived. The way other generations were like, well, this is just the way it is, and you're lucky you have a job, and you should listen to your supervisor, and hierarchy is holy, and all of these things. We're just not into that. And from everything that I've read, you know, I really believe it's about finding common ground. It's really about like understanding worldviews and why people are the way that they are, and how can we come together for humanity, for these superordinate goals. And there's a huge profit incentive to them that's currently like not being tapped into. So that's really like what I'm passionate about, and I want to do what I can to, you know, help these companies like build healthier environments, not only for the people who work inside of them, but for everybody else who's affected by the means of production.
You have certainly said a mouthful. We're going up against a brand. I'm not even sure I absorbed it all, but I definitely have a couple of questions on the other side of the break, because I'm okay. I gotta breathe. Because listen, and full disclosure, I'm a school teacher. Okay, I'm an adjunct professor. Law and order and hierarchy is like a really important thing. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's a really important thing, and you know, public schools are kind of getting away from that, and I suspect that is why we have a generation of adults who don't think that that's awesome. And I really do honestly want to get your perspective on how that works, and I because I want to know what that picture looks like from an organizational standpoint, a business organizational standpoint, how not so much being stuck to a hierarchy looks like. And I really truly am open-minded. I'm old school. You know, I think you should listen to your boss. I used to have and I still do. I have a philosophy around my work called dummy up. Even if your boss is telling you to do something stupid, you tell them, not that it's stupid, but you make your suggestion. And if they don't take that suggestion, that's on them. Do it anyway. Now, because that's your boss. That's what you do. So I want to talk to you on the other side of the break about what that looks like from a millennial standpoint, because, you know, you guys don't vibe with that, as you put it, and are not into that. So I would love to, I honestly really want to hear what that looks like. So are you cool with that? Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
I'm happy to answer any questions.
Oh, great. Oh, I'm so excited. I can't wait. I'm super excited. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. My guest today is Alison Lea Sher. We're talking all about millennials today, and how to retain millennials, how we're talking about generation reconciliation in the workplace. Very exciting topic and conversation. I'm so pleased to have her here today. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Conservative media done right. Listen to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com. and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcast. SackheadsRadio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Seven's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night, 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
Certain politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke. Their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplainstalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Desert Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's DVL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's no trick ever, because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Glenn. I'm excited to tell you about a brand new show here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only all-powerful sitting here on my left to bring to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny, and we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads against tyranny.
We're gonna chat. We're gonna chat Wednesday night. Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Wednesday night, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same SAC time, same SAC channel.
SHRmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's your business day here, Melanie. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. My guest today is Alison Lea Sher. We're talking about generation reconciliation in the workplace is really like the main thing that we're talking about right now, and how what Alison specializes in is helping millennials be successful, helping us older folks, I think we're Generation Z, kind of like understand how millennials think and how they communicate in the workplace, and so that we can take advantage of what they have to offer. Because I do believe that diversity in the workplace is very important. And what I mean by that is, I really actually hate the word diversity, because what I mean is diversity of thought. And that can mean, of course, age diversity, cultural diversity, that kind of thing. And so this is an example of that. But before the break, Alison was talking about, she said a mouthful, really. But one of the things that she talked about was the whole idea of, I don't want to articulate it wrong, but this is how I received it. I'm going to put it this way, and correct me, Alison, if I received it the wrong way. But that, the whole, like, your boss is always right, and like, listen to your boss no matter what kind of thing is not something that it's not received well by millennials, and you kind of think of things differently, and that's not like a way that you'd rather work or you'd rather operate. Am I saying that incorrectly?
Yes, Melanie, so much is semantics. So much is about just what do these words mean to different generations. And I think previous generations of traditionalists, they have authority, complete knowledge, completely different relationships to how much feedback they need, as well as, you know, what it means to be on a team and all of these things that are, as like, you know, we're dealing with inside the workplace. So you're correct in how you interpreted what I would say.
Oh, okay. I guess so, all right. Now, here's the thing. Like, I'm trying to say this in a way, I really don't want to offend you, honestly. And so, but I am like really struggling with this concept. I'm going to be honest. So, like, I just want to make sure we're cool. Okay? All right.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. No, I don't mind. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons why there's a hierarchy, and I'm sure this is obvious to you because you're obviously smart, you know, very articulate, and I'm sure you'll get this, is that one of the reasons why the people are in charge is because, you know, they have a depth and breadth of experience, and that's why, you know, the powers that be put that person in charge to be the decision makers. So, you know, it would make sense that the less experienced people would have to listen to the more experienced people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
But so is it the way that bosses do it sometimes that millennials have a problem with? Is that what it is? Is it the approach?
Well, it's also just like making there be opportunities for the conversation to go both directions. You know, like even sometimes just the simplest thing as having a box in your office where millennials can place suggestions if they have ideas for how anything at their jobs could be improved, even if those suggestions are totally discredited by upper management. Just even giving millennials the opportunity to have a say in that can be enough to keep us satisfied at our jobs. I'm not talking about dismantling hierarchy or that there's no such thing based on merit. It's about, like, you know, the difference between being a manager or a leader. It's the difference between, like,
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the last.
Sometimes based on, like, money, and millennials think of it as change, like our impact. So it's like it's very different. It's a very different lens, and millennials will be 50% of the workforce by 2020. So we've got to find some ways to work together.
I agree with that. Now I don't know if you can see the Facey chat, but I'm going to read you a couple of comments in the Facey chat, okay? Someone in the Facey chat says, oh gosh, millennials think everyone who isn't a millennial are worthless. I hear that a lot. I'm not sure who she's saying she hears that from. I don't know if she means she hears it from millennials or from other people who are saying that about millennials. What do you think of that comment?
I think that millennials actually crave mentorship.
Really?
We might fear about, like, not being able to get along with older people, so we choose to surround ourselves with ourselves. That's what I think.
Wait, go back.
And I think, you know, like, no one's explaining.
Say that again.
No one's explaining. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. Say that last part again.
Like, no one's explaining to us how we come off to one another. You know, like, there's no humanity between the generations.
And what does humanity?
So I think millennials tend to isolate with one another because we understand our perspective and other people don't.
Okay, so what does humanity between the generations look like? So explain it. Oh, and Katina in the chat says millennials are saying that's millennials that she hears saying that basically we're worthless. And I will have to agree with Katina on that. I used to, and the only reason why I'm saying it is because I used to mentor. I was a mentor to a millennial for a political organization. I have pretty vast political experience. And he didn't take a lot of my advice. And I said, well, why am I even your mentor? And he, he would say, that's old thinking, this, that, and the other. But that's besides. And so I eventually was like, okay, well, then since you know so much, bye. but anyway, since you seem to know everything, what am I here for? But what I really do want to know, like, what does humanity towards millennials look like? Like, what could I do as an older person to reach out to a millennial in a way that they would be receptive?
I think, stories are something that really brings us together. And I think that when we can tell each other our stories of like how we ended up the way that we are and thinking the way we think, it becomes a lot easier to relate to one another and realize, oh, I actually do get where you're coming from now. And I see that like millennials really want like to bring our whole selves to work. So when people can relate to us, it's not just like we have the on-the-job persona and then we have our personal lives. We're kind of just like bringing all of it there, which I think a lot of people might consider unprofessional. And I think it's one of the reasons why we get a reputation for being coddled, like
that. Literally, as you said, literally as you said, coddled. The word came up in the Facey chat.
I tell you, I know all of the. I know this is how we're perceived. I mean, I've had all of these placed on me too, and then I started getting all of this data and being like, okay, for whatever reason, like this is who this generation is, and we were raised by y'all. So,
Don't look at me. I don't have any kids. Don't look at me. You cannot blame it. You can't blame this on me.
We gotta do. So, Melanie, there's this book called The Fourth Turning that I had to read when I was getting my certification to become a generational strategist, and it talks about generational theory, and it talks about generations throughout history, throughout the history of Western civilization. And what a lot of people don't realize, and I didn't realize before I started studying this, is that each generation has different values that are complete evolutionary byproducts of whatever historical time period they're coming of age in, and that there's tensions. There's always been tensions between generations, tensions between the young and the old, and it's actually that these tensions that are what evolve civilization, and if we can just learn to accept that and see that as almost like destiny, then maybe we can have space to just understand where the other is coming from. And it's not that the youth are right or the old people are wrong, because what your philosophies worked for you, but millennials we have a completely different experience, and we, from our perspective, we're inheriting a society that's destroying the earth, that doesn't even economically give us the instruments and the opportunities to take on traditional adult responsibilities, like being able to afford a home and pay off our school. So when you understand it from that perspective, you can kind of see why we want to shake things up and change things from the way that they've been. The status quo worked for you guys, but it's not working for us, and that's why we're experimenting. But I do empathize with you guys because, and I've definitely experienced this in my own personal life, where like it is really important to listen to people who are successful in society, who have made it work for themselves, and just be like, well, how did you make it work? And if that works, then why don't I try it? Like I don't have all the answers, and so it's about finding that common ground and understanding that I've become more, I used to be like a radical anarchist, and I've become way more conservative as I've gotten older, because I realized like, okay, like this is how I have to be. This is how the world works. And it's important. Like it's not about it's not about dissolving structures or systems. Like, structures is important, organization is important, but I think what millennials want is it to be adaptable, and for us to be able to have our say in that. But our approach is often like completely off, and it really comes off as disrespectful, distasteful, ignorant to others. And that's what I'm working on trying to work through.
Well, and you know what? I'm going to say on behalf of those of us who struggle communicating with millennials, thank you. I'm
doing what I can. I don't know
for your service.
Listen, I can, Melanie.
We're coming up on the last few minutes of the show. Can you please tell us where we can get your book, how we can get in touch with you if you do speaking or guest on anyone's show, anything like that? Now's the time to promote yourself.
Oh, thank you, Melanie. Okay, so my book is available in independent retailers across the country, as well as Barnes & Noble across the country. You can find it on Amazon. I have an audio book as well. It's available on Kindle. And if you're interested in my intergenerational reconciliation work, I have a website called Millennials-Incorporated.com. So I call it Millennial Inc. And it's Millennials-Incorporated.com. And let's see if we can come together in ways that benefit us all.
I love it. Thank you so much for being on the show. I really do.
Thank you for challenging me.
I really do appreciate it. I have to say, it's one of my toughest interviews. because listen, I didn't want to be hard on you.
I don't care if you're hard on me, Melanie. Let's be you.
Well, listen, when it's politics, I don't mind going in and just But you remind me of kind of like one of my students. I wanted to kind of, I wanted to disagree, but like take it easy a little bit. But no, you did well. And I honestly, I really do appreciate you. And I hope you'll come back.
Thank you so much, Melanie.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I want to thank everybody in the Facey chat. Such good comments. I want to thank everyone who listened today on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. And if you are listening to this as a downloaded podcast, thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys totally rock. Remember, all of this is very important because after all, this is your money. Have a great night.